Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard Podcast with your host, Collin and Brandon Cox. As we record here on Sunday, March 2nd, and baseball season has kicked off in spring training, and the regular season is coming up soon. The weather outside doesn't seem to agree, as it's currently, I think, like 28 degrees here in Sailorsburg. Um, but yeah, Braden and I are going to be previewing the NL East in this episode. We've been previewing every position or every division. And so far we've done the AL East, and now we're going over to the NL side and doing the NL East. So stay tuned for further episodes. And if you haven't checked out the AL East one, make sure you check that one out as well to get our thoughts there. But yeah, Braden and I, again, are super excited. NL East is probably one of the best divisions in baseball. I would say have some stats to back that up. We'll get to those in the episode as well. But yeah, Braden, let's get started on the NL East. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's weird because this like past week, like I don't know, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, it really felt like I was like, this is baseball weather. We were getting like 50s to 60s. I was like, okay, like I can roll with this. But then yesterday it got super cold and like we're kind of
Yep.
stuck in that, you know, below 30-degree range for the next few days, it seems. But
Yep.
before we know it, it's gonna be consistently in the 50s, which means that we're gonna be
Yeah.
closer to regular season baseball, and I'm very excited for it. And I'm excited to talk about the NL East. I think this is
Yeah.
probably one of the most fun star power divisions in baseball.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't agree with you with the fact that the weather is going to be above 50 degrees before we know it, because I feel like we're kind of in for a long month here of March. Um, but but yeah, I agree. I think one of the best divisions in baseball, like I said, most firepower probably of any division. And yeah, let's get rolling here. So we've been doing the format of just previewing each team and then at the end giving our kind of predictions and standings. Um, so yeah, I think we did last time we did alphabetical order by city. Do you want to do that again? Do you want to do alphabetical order by team name? You want to do reverse alphabetical order by city? What do you want to do?
We'll keep it consistent. We'll go by
Keeping
city
consistent.
name.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Keep the consistency going. Um, all right. So that I think that takes us to Atlanta, right? The Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, that would be Atlanta first. First letter of the alphabet. Let's do it.
Yeah. So Atlanta Braves obviously snuck into the playoffs last year after kind of a roller coaster of a season. Ronald Acuna Jr. goes down about, I think it was like May. It was really early on, but they were still able to, pull together, make it into the playoffs. Did get swept in the first round by the Padres, I believe. I think they kind of just they're probably fatigued from making that last run for the wild card spot, and then had to go into San Diego, who had a lot of firepower as well. And then Braves were kind of injury riddled, and are kind of looking for, I wouldn't want to say a bounce back season because they still made the playoffs, but I think the Braves are looking to get on back on top of the NL East after they did so 2 years ago. Um, and Chris Sale coming off a Cy Young season. I think they're in a good spot for the NL East top spot.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that last year this team was littered with injuries, right? I think at one point, like every single one of their star players, and they do have a lot, just to name a few: Sean Murphy, Ozzy, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna. They did acquire Brian De La Cruz in the offseason. We got Michael Harris on this team. Uh, we got Jack Proffer, who came over from San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as Azunia, of course. So there's a lot of star power. Um, a lot of great baseball players on this team, and I think last year was just kind of a blip, like you said. This team at full strength feels like that they could be one of the best
Mm-hmm.
teams in baseball and could win a World Series. They won the World Series in
Yeah.
what was that, 21,
Yes.
22?
21.
Um, so like, yeah, I got full confidence in this team that, if they're able to, not catch the injury bug again, that they're going to be a threat not only in this division but in the NL period.
Yeah, they're just such a good team top to bottom. Like there really is no real weakness at any position except for maybe shortstop, with Orlando Arcia there. But I think he's kind of just a glove first shortstop, not really there to be a hitter. But everyone else is like pretty much a threat, like just so good. Like I said, top to bottom, gonna be really fun to watch this division and the Braves overall.
Yeah.
So
And we would consider last year to be like a substantial down year for the Braves, right? Because of all the injuries. They went 89 and
yeah,
73.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a
They
great
still won
season
89
for
games.
90% of
Yeah,
all clubs. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They still won a ton of games. They finished second in the division. At full strength, they definitely win this division, in my opinion, despite how good Philly was. This was, this is a really good team. And the fact that they still were, 16 games over 500 despite the injuries
Hmm.
show that, like, if they're at full strength, look out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They're good operation, good organization. Just a lot of good baseball players as long as they all stay healthy. And then reiterating again just how good the NL East is. It starts with the Braves, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, they're because they kind of set the standard a few years ago with how good you have to be and for to be like consistent year in and year out. Um, and I think it overall made the Phillies and the Mets both better teams because they had to live up to that standard. So yeah,
yeah.
good for baseball, just division overall. So yeah, I think get all my thoughts out for now. We'll get back to the Braves later on in the episode. Do you want to move
Yeah.
on to I think it's Miami now?
Yeah.
Big
Lone
jump,
Depot
A
Park.
to M.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say on the Marlins. They've been rebuilding for how long now? They were good a couple years ago. Um,
Yeah.
I
Remember they
think
had that weird playoff? They had that playoff,
they
not
had
run, but they made the playoffs
yeah
like
in
two seasons
2023.
ago.
In 2023, they made the playoffs and got swept in Philly. I do remember that. Um, but yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, it's just I don't even have any um I don't have much confidence in them like as a like an organization for them to like rebuild and be near the top three anytime soon. Do you?
No, I mean, like, I don't really even know what there is to say about this team. I mean, they had Jake Berger last year, right? He was
Mm,
probably one of their, I mean, they had Jazz, but then he was traded at the deadline. But Jake Berger, I think, finished the season with them, no? And he's gone now. I'm just looking through their transactions just to see if there's any names that, like, I'm like, okay, like
yeah.
maybe this could be something, but I'm not seeing much. And it's a shame that, it seems like that they're kind of stuck in this position where, nothing's ever really gonna, develop. I mean, at least for now. And 2 years ago they did make the playoffs somehow.
Mm.
Maybe the NL must have had a crazy down year, or maybe the Marlins just figured it out for one year. But
They were like decent that year. They had Jazz, Jake Berger. I think Luis was Arias on the team at that point still. I don't know. I
he
forget. I don't think he was actually. I think
traded to him. I think he was traded to San Diego this year, like this past
okay,
season.
so
So
maybe
he was there.
he was on the team in 2023.
I
Yeah,
think.
he
Has he
was.
been with San Diego for a full season and a half already? I don't think so.
No, but he was on the Arise was on the
He's on the playoff
Twins.
team.
He was on the Twins before the Marlins
Hold
though.
up. Let's see. We're gonna get this. We're gonna sell this right now. He was um 2024. Yeah, he was traded to San Diego last season.
Okay.
So he
But
was
yeah,
on the
so
Marlins team in
okay,
2023. He
I
was on
see
the
that
Twins the year
now. Yeah,
before.
he was on the Twins. He's on the Twins before, but then yeah, he
I
was on the
forgot.
Marlins in the
Like
2023 season.
him being on the Twins feels like so long ago.
Yeah. And then he got traded like the first month last year. Like it was like 2 weeks in,
Yeah.
and then he
He
went
played 33
to
games
the
in
Padres.
2024
Yeah.
for the Marlins.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, I mean they were in 2023 they had some star power, but they weren't able to, obviously keep it together.
mhm.
Um and yeah, I mean I don't really know how much like to look up to here as far as if we have any Marlins fans out there. I don't really know any positives to tell you other than like I feel like in 2023 they kind of shocked the league by making the playoffs. Like, and maybe it was just a down year for the NL. I'd have to go back and look, but you know, like you never know. Like they could
Yeah.
figure it out
They
and
had
maybe be in the playoff race with 2 weeks left. Who
yeah.
knows? But
They also had decent pitching that 2023 year too. They
yeah,
were
yeah,
like they were like decent on like on all cylinders. Um but yeah, I just they've kind of lost a lot of that star power, kind of rebuilding. So maybe they get back to where they were. But I don't see
yeah,
it in sight right now.
yeah. Yeah, and the problem is and the reason why I don't have a ton to say here and a lot of confidence in that is their division is really good now.
Yeah,
Like pretty
really
much
good.
across the board. And they're gonna have to play the Mets, they're gonna have to play the Phillies and the Braves many times a year, right?
Yeah,
And how many of those are they gonna pull out, right? Because that's really what the difference in the season will be. Um, and I just don't see them, you know,
yeah, I agree.
being a true threat in this division.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, let's move on from the Marlins. I think we have more to discuss. Um,
Yeah.
in the NL East, more on more positive notes. I think so. Then that brings us to N, right? LMN. That brings us to
Yeah.
our Yankees' little
Mets.
brother, the New York Mets,
Yeah.
the New York Metropolitans,
Yeah.
Metropolitans,
Metropolitans.
Metropolitans, the New
There
York
you go.
Metropolitans from Queens
Queens. Queens City Field. Yeah. Uh
City Field.
obviously probably the talk of the off season, the biggest transaction was them giving Soto what was it, 15 years? What did it end up being?
I
15,
ended up,
700 and
yeah,
something crazy.
something insane.
So that's obviously yeah,
Snatched.
an insane contract. Um Another, sneaky acquisition. Well, I guess not acquisition, but re-signing was Pete Alonso. It seemed
Mm-hmm.
like once it hit February, it was like there's no way that that this is gonna work out. Like, how do they not have a deal done by now? Like he was the face of the franchise for the past how many years, really?
Right.
Um, but they figured it out. I think it was what, like a 3-year deal with like an opt out after two. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
100% certain on that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is a good team. They won 89 games last year, lost 73. Um, they made the playoffs last year. They kind of squeaked in. Like there was that weird like hurricane that went through Atlanta like the last week of the season when the Mets and Braves were playing, and that was like the biggest series of the season, pretty much in the NL because it was deciding, who was making the playoffs there.
Right.
But
That
then
last
those games
spot. Yeah.
postponed, and then those games ended up being on Monday. And I think the first game was like one of the best games of the season.
Yeah.
I
It was
remember watching it, like
insane.
going back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
Insane game. I mean, I expect a lot of fireworks once again from the Mets this year. Um, they do have a tall task ahead of them. Very tough division. Um, I would say both the Phillies and the Braves at this point are more established than them as far as like a threat, quote unquote, right? Because the Phillies were in the World Series, what, two, three? I guess it was 3 seasons ago at this point. Um, and the Braves won the
Yeah.
World Series like
2022. Yeah.
4 years ago. So, and yeah, the Mets made it to the NLCS last year, upset the Phillies. But obviously great division. But we'll see what the Mets got this year. They got Lindor, they got Soto, they got Pete Alonso. As far as other offseason transactions, like there wasn't anything super super big. It sounded like
Clay
at the
Holmes.
beginning of the offseason that the Mets were going to go crazy this offseason. It's from what Steve Cohen made it seem like it was, Soto's just the domino. We're going to go and,
Yeah.
sign everyone. We're going to be the Dodgers of the East Coast. And I don't think they quite got to that point, but they're definitely a good team.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what they do this year and how it turns out.
Yeah. I agree. I think on offense, they're, obviously probably one of the better offenses in the league now, especially stealing Juan Soto from the Yankees. Um, but like I said, I mean, I didn't say this before, but their pitching is kind of what scares me a little bit. I think their offense is good enough to make them a 90-win team for sure. Because I think the lineup's looking now is probably Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, right? I'd like a one through
Yeah.
four kind of thing.
Yeah, probably.
Um,
Yeah.
so like yeah, I think that's probably one of the best four aside from maybe the Dodgers, probably one of the best top four offenses in
Batters. Yeah.
baseball. Like that, yeah, top four, like, one through four batters in baseball. Um, and yeah, like I said, I just think it's gonna, like I said, I think this all kind of was a down effect from the Braves being so good because the Mets had to be good after that, and the Phillies had to be good. And it's gonna be like we said before, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch the NL East. I think it's just super super top heavy with these the big three teams here, and the Mets are gonna be right in the running. toward the end. It's going to be, I really think the division is going to come down to like 1 or 2 or 3 games max. And I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially it's going to be fun to follow, from outsiders' perspectives and people who are a fan of like Mets, Phillies, Braves, as
Yeah.
well. So it's going to be like I said, going to be good for baseball. I think it's good that all these teams are spending a lot of money to be the best team. So,
Yeah.
and that's
I
including
agree.
the
And
Mets.
Mets fans are really, excited because they've been on kind of a roller coaster, it feels like, since, probably beyond this, but COVID, because they splashed and got Scherzer and Verlander in, what was that, 2022?
That was
Like the
2023,
20 Okay, yeah, 2023. And
or maybe it was
um
2022.
that didn't work. And that the year that they were like, I'd have to go back and look. The one year
No,
they were really
Scherzer went to
good.
the
Didn't they win?
Rangers. Scherzer went to the Rangers, then won the ring. So I think that was 2023. Like,
Yes,
they
you're right.
traded him to the Rangers in
Yes.
2023.
Yeah. And then Verlander was traded to Houston.
Yes.
And those two teams ended up being in the NLCS that year. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
ALCS. Yeah.
Um, ALCS, yeah. But it's been a roller coaster because they, had the playoff berth a few years ago, and then they were down, and then last year they kind of shocked the world and got to the playoffs and went
Yep.
all the way to the NLCS, and now they acquired generational talent than Juan Soto in the offseason. So it feels like the sky's the limit for this team. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster for Mets fans, and the team in general. So, I'm excited to see, obviously I hate it that, Juan Soto, who, was a huge contributor, obviously, in the Yankees getting to the World Series, is now competing or playing for the crosstown rival.
Yeah.
But, I'm still excited to see, you know, how it turns out. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm rooting for them, but it's going to be fun to watch them play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and In the Yard might even make an appearance at City Field. I know we talked about that this year.
Hope so.
Um,
I want to.
Hope so. It was like in July or
Um.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Yanks, Mets at City
Hmm.
Field. So maybe that
Yeah.
happens, but we'll see.
Yeah. 4th of July weekend, the Yankees are going to City Field. So I think, I'm leaning toward going. I have nothing planned as of right now. So, um,
Yeah,
but I don't want to make this about the Yankees, but I think it makes, the Mets being good makes the Yankees Mets rivalry even more fun as well. Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, like I said, just Steve Cohen spending money in the Mets, I think it's good for baseball, good for the city of New York, and good for the NL East as well. Um, so yeah, I think we'll get to the Mets again later on. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And then we go from N to P, Philadelphia Phillies,
Philadelphia.
uh, who play in Citizens Bank Park. Braeden, what are your thoughts on the Phillies this year? Or yeah, Phillies for this year. They haven't really made many offseason transactions, but they didn't really have to. They're kind of stacked everywhere. Their
Yeah.
starting pitching, their relief pitching is solid. You have one of the best first basemen in baseball, Bryce Harper, right? So I want to get your thoughts on, where the Phillies stand as of right now. After last year, they won. You said they had the second best record in baseball, and then just kind of choked in the DS series against the Mets. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, give me your thoughts there.
Yeah. I think uh once again, this is going to be a good ball club this year. You're right. They didn't really make that many transactions. You mentioned Max Kepler is probably like their biggest acquisition, right? They
Yeah.
didn't really lose too many people. I know Austin Hayes, I think he came in last year from Baltimore and now
Mm-hmm.
he's gone. But for the most part, that core of like Turner and Harper and Schwarber and whatnot, they're all still intact. So this is still going to be a good team. Obviously, we're getting to predictions, later in this episode, but I think that the fact that I think the Braves are going to win more games, I think they're going to be better. And I think the Mets by default are going to be better. I think
Wow.
it's going to be
No love
definitely
for the Phillies. No love for
what?
the Phillies. Are the Mets going to be better than the Phillies, or Mets going to be better than
No,
last year?
I'm not saying that they're going to be better. I'm just saying that the Mets are going to be better in general. So I think
Okay.
it's going to be a
Gotcha.
tougher road for the Phillies. You know what I
Right. No,
mean? Like the
I
Phillies
agree
had
with
the
that.
second best
Okay.
record. Phillies had the
Gotcha.
second best record in baseball last year, and you know, do I see that happening again? Maybe, but there's two teams in your division that are
Right.
going to be, I would say, significantly better than last year,
Mm-hmm.
right? And both those teams made the playoffs last year and won 89 games, right?
Hmm.
You're still going to probably beat up on the Nationals and the Marlins, right? Like that's likely going to happen this season for the Phillies. Um, but those games against the Mets and the Braves are going to be tougher. And the Dodgers got better. You know what I mean? So this isn't like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't see many people out there saying like, "Oh, the Phillies are a shoo-in for the NLCS." Nobody's
Hmm.
saying that, and they were
Yeah.
on paper the second best team in baseball last year, and didn't really lose anybody significant in the offseason. So the
Yeah.
fact that people aren't throwing your name out there as much tells me that they kind of know that you know the team's aging, of course, but
Yeah.
as a whole, like the division's better, so it's going to
Hmm.
be tougher for them to do it. Not that they can't do it; they could totally win
Hmm.
this division. Um, but it's going to be, a larger hill to climb than what it
Yeah.
has been in previous years, I'd say.
Yeah. The only thing that concerns me at the Phillies is the fact that they kind of, they've been taking a step backward in the playoffs. Like they've been getting better for the regular season. But I think 2022 they made the World Series, but then in 2023 they lost in the CS to the Diamondbacks, and
Yeah,
then
Diamondbacks.
last year they lost in the DS to the Mets. So like they're kind of trending, I guess I would say, in the wrong direction, right? If
Yeah,
you look at it that way. But again, they're a solid team. I just and I think this division and the NL as a whole is just so cutthroat. Like anything could happen. Um, especially with the magic of Philly and playing there in the playoffs. So I think we'll just have to see how it goes. But I do like the Phillies. Like I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're going to be in for playoff contention in talks toward the end of the season. But yeah, we'll get into that a little more later as well as we're approaching. We got less than 10 minutes now on the Zoom
yeah,
call.
yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Something else I add on the Phillies, and you mentioned how like they made the World Series, but then it seems like each year since they've kind of taken one step back, where they lost in the CS to the Diamondbacks, which I think we would all collectively say are an inferior team to them. Not throwing shade at the Diamondbacks by any means, but
No.
they lost that series in a game 7 at the bank, right? Like that's something that shouldn't happen, right? They rave about their playoff atmosphere, but to me, that means you got to win those games at home.
Yeah. They
Um,
lost game
and
six
then
and seven
last
at home
year,
that year.
yeah, and last year, the Mets nearly won both games at Citizens Bank Park to start the DS,
Yeah.
right? Like it was a comeback for the Phillies in game 2 that kind of, kept them alive in this series. If the Mets win that game,
Mm-hmm.
wraps.
Wraps. Yeah.
It's wraps on the season.
And
So,
you could
uh,
talk about the wild card bye and all that stuff.
sure,
But at the end of the day, you got to win those games. At least one
sure,
of those at home,
exactly,
right? Yeah. Um,
absolutely. So it's they're still an exciting team. I'm sure I'll end up at a game this year because of how close they are to me. They're a fun team to watch, and I have high expectations for them this year.
right.
Um, it just I don't know 100% how to feel because I think the division. I would say 3 teams in division are like definitely better than what they were last year.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what does
They've
that
all
mean for the
improved.
Phillies?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to win 95 games again?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. But
Let's see. All right. Let's move on to the last team, the Nationals, real quick. Um, See, I think the Nationals are in a similar boat to me as the Marlins, like where I don't think they're going to be good this year, especially with how good the other 3 teams are in the division. But I think the Nationals have a brighter future, like 3 or 4 years down the line. They have really good young core, C.J. Abrams, um, James Wood, and then Dylan Cruz, like super good young core. They have a good operation. They won the World Series like 2019, so 6 years ago now. But I think this year is just not their year. They're super young and they're not nearly as talented as those top 3 other teams that we talked about: Phillies, Braves, Mets. But
yeah, yeah,
that's all
no,
I
I,
gotta say.
I would agree with you 100%. I think that they're in a different tier than the Phillies, the Braves, the Mets, however you want to rank them. That's up to you.
Yeah.
But for sure, I would say that there is a brighter future in DC than there is in
Yeah.
Miami. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe not this year, maybe this year, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're looking at more like 2026, something like that. This could be a team that could be special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I'm
they're
not saying
good
that
young
they
core.
have the potential to win the World Series, but anything can happen. I think that the only thing that is standing in their way is the fact that the division's so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Put them in the NL
they
Central
might
and it's a
turn
different
out in
story, right?
yeah, they could, we could be having an argument if they're in the Central that they're, maybe fighting for the division win when it's all said and done.
That's what I
But
mean. Yeah.
the fact that in such a tough division, it doesn't help them in that way.
Hmm.
But I'd have to agree with you. I think that they're a decent team. They're probably going to be a fun team to watch. I don't really have any like expectations for them though, but it's different than Miami where like my expectations for them are like really low. The the Nationals could be like a few wins better than the Marlins, or they could be like 2 games behind third place when it's all said and done. You know what I mean? Like they could be like closer to 80 wins and 60 wins, which would
I
be a
disagree with
great
you
season for
there.
them
I
in my opinion.
disagree with you there. I think they're good, but I don't think so. You're saying they'd be only 2 or 3 wins
I'm
worse. Like
saying it's possible.
I don't.
I'm saying it's possible.
I mean,
Okay, and that's fair.
I think they're really like I think they have a good young core. And I'm kind of a big Nationals guy. Like I have, you know, I like watching them, but I do think
Yeah.
they're like a year or two behind these other three teams. Um,
Oh, 100%. But my point is just like, you know, Kansas City 2 seasons ago was the second worst team by, win percentage in baseball. And then the next year, they, in a bad division, of course, made the playoffs. And I'm not saying the Nationals are going to make the playoffs,
that's
but,
true.
later in the season, we could be talking about like the Nationals, out of the playoff picture where like they're still technically in it, like record wise, but they like realistically have no shot of making it because the teams ahead of them are that much better.
Hmm.
Um, well, but I'm just saying that that's possible. You know what I mean?
All
Uh,
right.
I could be
I
totally wrong. Like maybe the Marlins are better than them, but I don't know enough about these teams to know that. But seeing their transactions this
see.
offseason, seeing what I saw from them last year, I would say, in my opinion, they're a little bit better than the Marlins, and they could be a team that has a fun run. But I agree with you for sure that like they're definitely like a year or two away from like being serious. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So
Um, yeah, just because like the Phillies and Braves are getting a little up there in age, and then I think once
yeah,
kind of they lose that core, once the Phillies and Braves lose their core, and even maybe the Mets, I think that then the Nationals core will be on top. I don't know when that is. I don't have a timeline, but I would say it's at least 2 or 3 years from now. But
yeah. I
but we'll
mean,
see. We have to see.
last year, if this is right. Last year, there were only 5 teams that had a worse record than them. Like to me, I think that they're going to be better than that. You know what I mean? The teams that had
Yeah,
worse records
no,
than
I
them were
agree.
the Athletics, the Angels, the Marlins, the Rockies, and the White Sox. And I'm like, okay, teams that were like right around near them were like the Reds, the Giants, the Rays, the Blue Jays, the Pirates. Like those teams, like I think that there's a chance that they could be at or above some of those teams. I'm not going to say
Right,
all those teams, but you know what I mean.
right. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on the Nationals this season. So I think that wraps up all the teams. I think we get into our predicted standings now, right?
Yeah, I would say we jump into that since I went first with the AL East. I'll let you do the honors to go first
Okay.
in the NL East.
Yeah. So NL East, we'll do 1 through 5, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like this division is so good. Like I feel like it's literally the top three teams, Phillies, Braves, Mets, between out of those ones. It's literally a coin flip as to which team will go where. I think all of these teams are 90 win teams. Um, I was looking, Bray. So there's 5 teams in the whole league with an over under win total of at least 90. And 3 of those teams are in the NL East. That's the Braves, Phillies, and Mets, and then the Dodgers and the Yankees are the other two. So this is a very, very good
Wow.
top heavy division. I mean, I know those are just predictions, but I think it just goes to show you how good these teams can be at their full potential, right? As long as everyone's healthy, everyone's playing to their level. So like I said, and the over unders are not off by much, like literally a coin flip. Um, but Braden, I think I don't know. It's just so tough for me. Like I said, I think all these teams are playoff teams. I think they're all three between the Mets, Braves, and Phillies are all going to make the playoffs. but I don't know. I just for some reason I'm rolling with the Phillies still for the number one spot in the NL
Okay.
East. They didn't like I said didn't really do much, but didn't really have to do much. They were a great team last year, and as long as they stay healthy, I think they're going to go in because they're going to be going all in because they know this core is going to be here forever. As they're getting a little older now, and I think I don't know. I like how they play in the regular season. They're a great regular season team, great pitching, solid bullpen, and it's going to be hard to go against them. So I do have the Phillies one, and then for the second spot in the NL East, I'm going to go with the Braves. Um, just very very good all round team. They're getting Ronald Acuna back after winning 89 games without him last season. Chris Sale coming off a Cy Young year, so he's going to be. I feel like he's going to be solid. They get Max Fried back for a full season, so not Max Fried, sorry, Spencer Strider. Getting Spencer Strider
Yeah.
back for a full
I
season,
know
I
who you
think.
meant, but yeah.
Um, Max Fried is on the Yankees now. Uh, yes, I think is Spencer Strider coming back? Is he going to be back for the whole year? Do you know?
As far as I'm aware,
Yeah,
I
that's another
don't
thing. They lost him last year too. Him and they're the two best players basically, and then Sale steps up and then wins the Cy Young for him. So um, they're gonna be really good at it, but I like the Phillies consistency a little better all around. So that's why I put the Phillies slightly ahead of the Braves. And then I think like I said, I think these games are going to be determined by 3 or 4 games max between the three teams. Um, um, so did you get any update on Strider? He's gonna be back for the start of the
look in
season.
here. Yeah, so it looks like um Mark Bowman of MLB.com suggests that injured ace Spencer Strider could be back in the starting rotation by end of April.
Okay, so like first month in the season, so they probably will rush him back. He'll probably be back like mid May, early June, probably around there. So yeah, that helps him out a ton. And then so for the third seed in the East, I'm gonna go with the Mets. I like what they did signing Soto. They re-signed Pete Alonso. Their pitching is already injury riddled. I think Clay Holmes right now is currently the third starter. Not saying that he won't do good in that role, but you don't really want Clay Holmes as your third starter. You think he'd be like a back end starter guy, especially since he has never started before for a full season. But like I said, I think they have enough firepower on offense to be up there with the Phillies and Braves. And I don't think they're going to be very far behind. And like I said, I think they're going to be a playoff team. Um, so Mets fans, I know you guys get a little mad at us when we don't put the Mets as good as everyone, um, but they're going to be there. And then for 4 and 5, I have Nationals, Marlins. Like we said, pretty much we said it earlier. The Nationals really young, just not quite the level of the other three teams, and the Marlins are just completely rebuilding. It seems like so yeah, those are my NL East predictions and why. And then I think this division being good is really good for baseball. And then similar to what I said in the last episode between the Yankees and Red Sox rivalry, I think the rivalry is enhanced for the Phillies, Mets, and Braves now too when they play each other because it's going to be really important to win those games because I think when it's all said and done at the end of the season in September, it's going to be like 3, 4, 5 games between those three teams there. So yeah, those are my
Yeah,
predictions.
I think a lot of what you said is valid. I can't argue with it too much. I do have a few tweaks I'm gonna make.
That's good.
Um,
It's good.
yeah, it is
And
good, and I'm not.
like I said, it could be literally was a coin flip. I couldn't even like really be like, okay, yeah, definitely the Phillies. It took me a while, kind of just was going with my gut there at the end, or when it was all said and
Yeah,
done.
and I really do think that Phillies pick at one, the argument you made is really valid in the sense that they're like an incredibly good regular season team. Not to say that they can't do it in the postseason. They have played in a World Series in the past like 3, 4 years, whatever it was. Um, but they're consistently a great regular season team, and the record shows for it. They won 95 games last regular season. But I'm not going to have them winning the NL East. I'm going to have the from last season, the injury riddled Atlanta Braves winning this division. Just because I think top to bottom, they are a better team when fully healthy. And I said it at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the episode, the fact that they won, what was it, 89?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just confirm. Yeah, they won 89 games last year, and it felt like that they were like destroyed from injuries like the whole time. So the fact that they were able to do that while injured tells me that, you know, especially with the additions of someone like Jackson Profar, they're going to be, if healthy, I keep saying that, but if healthy, they're going to be really good offensively. I do have few concerns with their pitching. I think that their pitching staff is really good, but they did lose Max Fried, right?
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, right? Because he's one of the better pitchers in the league, and he's been one of their better pitchers for the past few years. But they are getting someone like Spencer Strider back, like a month or 6 weeks
Hmm.
into the season, and Chris Sale's coming off to Cy Young, so I don't have a ton of concerns there.
Hmm.
So I am going to pick them there, and I agree with you that I think the Phillies, the Braves, and the Mets are all going to be separated by a few games, and I think that the Phillies will finish second and the Mets will finish third, but
Wow.
I could see them having the same exact record. I could
Yeah.
see like a situation like last year where we saw the Braves and Mets both finish 89 and 73, where these two teams are going to be neck and neck the entire season.
Hmm.
And the Braves might be ahead when it's all said
Hmm.
and done by like two or three. Like that would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
probably my prediction.
Right.
So basically what I'm saying there is like the Mets could totally finish second. I just think that Braves will win it and Phillies and Mets could flip flop.
Okay.
Um,
So you have the Braves as like when
um,
they're healthy, you think they're definitely going to be the top dog in the NL East.
yes,
Okay.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
then little
100%.
little bit of a gap, and then the Phillies and Mets are like equal.
But yeah, but when we're talking about a gap, we're talking about like nothing. Like any of those three teams could totally win it.
Right.
Totally win it.
I
Even
agree.
if all three are at full strength. You know what I mean? The Mets could totally win this division, even with the Braves and Phillies at full strength. Right.
Yeah.
I just think I like what the Braves have, and the Braves are a little bit more established.
Yeah.
Especially considering last year they made the playoffs with
Yeah.
how injured they are. They've
Hmm.
won a World Series. The Phillies played in one, so that's just how I'm kind of putting this together. And then I'm going to agree
Yeah.
with you with the 4 or 5. I'm going to put the Nationals and the Marlins. I don't know if you have it up, but what is the over and under for the Nationals this year?
I actually have it up. I had it up because I knew last time we didn't, but now I do. Um, so Marlins over under 62 and a half. Um, you know, not
Marlins
great.
is 62 and a half.
Yeah. So that's 62 and a half. And then the Nationals are 73 and a half over under.
Okay. I would say, and I'm not a betting man, so you don't take my advice. I would say under for Marlins, over for Nationals.
Okay. There you go. So you're saying Nationals in like 75, 80 range?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would be a
they
step
won
forward for
71
them.
last year, and I
Yeah,
think that
that's a
they're going to
good
be a
point.
better team than
Yeah,
last year.
they are a better team, but I think the division got tougher too. That's my concern. They're a better team,
True,
but so did
true.
all the other teams. So I
Yeah,
think it's tough. It's tough. Um,
I think the Marlins are a lock for like 100 plus losses because they
yeah,
lost 100 last year, and they had like you know they at least had Jake Berger. Now they don't even
yeah,
have him. Jake
and
Berger was the
Jazz
best
for half
player,
the
and
season. Yeah,
he left.
yeah,
Yeah, so what I mean. I don't really have
yeah.
much faith there, but
There you go.
yeah. And then what did you say that whatever you're referencing, like what did Fangraphs or whatever
It's
have like the final
DraftKings.
standings as? DraftKings,
Um,
what did they have?
I went to DraftKings for the over unders, and then I went to Fangraphs for like projected standings. And
Okay.
so actually, Fangraphs has Braves Braves one, Mets Phillies tied for two, like you said, and then Nationals
Okay.
Marlins. Um,
Okay. So largely what I said. Okay.
yeah,
Um,
the exact same thing you said, pretty much.
wow.
There you go. You should
Okay.
work for Fangraphs.
Yeah,
We don't need
maybe.
the crunch numbers.
Maybe. I ain't
We just go
referencing
with
them,
our
I
gut.
swear. I swear. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just those top three is like so they feel so even, right?
Yeah,
And
and
then,
like I said,
I know this
and
isn't a playoff episode, right? We're not making any predictions as far as the postseason is concerned, but I would say all three make the postseason. I feel like any one
yeah,
of those teams could like realistically make noise in October. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I
of
don't think any of
course,
those teams to me screams
of
regular
course.
season team only. Like the
No,
Mets could like beat the Dodgers. I think the Phillies last year, if they would have had a 7 game series with the Dodgers, I think it probably would have went to a game 7,
yeah,
right? And
no,
the
yeah, I
Braves,
agree.
so I think this is a great division. All these games, when they play within the division are going to be electric. Like I can't imagine what that first like Phillies Braves game is going to look like. You know what I mean? Because
No, it's gonna be
I feel
fun.
like both franchises really, really, and not that Mets fans don't, but I feel like both franchises really feel that they're the team that can beat the Dodgers,
Yeah,
right?
I think all these teams
The
feel
Mets have
like
already
okay. Like I think the Dodgers being good made these teams go all in because to get back to the World Series, you probably most will get to get to at least the Dodgers once. Um,
yeah.
but, but yeah, just it
And,
just made
and something I
the
will
NL East better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, something I will add, and we've talked about it. I don't know if on here, but like amongst ourselves, is a 5 game series. I mean, the Dodgers are so loaded, but I don't love the Dodgers in a 5 game series. And we've seen historically they have struggled in those.
Yeah,
Granted, they didn't have Shohei Ohtani in those, right? But look
and the
back 2 years ago and they got swept by the
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
And then I think the year before that, um, I forget who they lost to. Maybe it was like the Braves or something like that.
no, because
But they struggled.
The Braves beat the Dodgers. I think. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they beat them in the
What about
DS.
the year that the Phillies went to the World Series? Who
That
did the
was
Dodgers lose to?
I think with the Braves because the Braves and Phillies played each other in the CS. No, maybe it was
Yeah,
the Padres. Maybe it's the Padres. I don't know.
something like that. But
I think it was the
my point
Padres.
is,
Yeah, go ahead.
my point
And the Padres had
is
them last year
like a
too.
5 game.
The Padres were up 2-1 against the Dodgers in the
This is
DS.
true. This is true. Just my point here is a 5 game series scares me for basically every team, right?
Yeah, no,
So
it's no matter who
I
you
think
are.
if you're gonna beat the Dodgers, it's going to be in a DS. And I
Okay.
think that any one of these teams could and win three out of two against a team like the Dodgers. So see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. Great division. And I think all these teams feel like they're pretty equipped to beat the Dodgers. They have to. Mets pitching would be the only thing holding them back, but like I said, their firepower and offense could put them over the edge. We'll have to see come October. I do think all three of these teams will be in the playoff race, and make the postseason. But yeah, I think we got all our thoughts out on there. Just really good division overall. It's gonna be fun to watch. So
Yeah, I feel bad for the the Central and the West because I feel like we can at least here we're saying like 3 of those teams are going to the postseason, and then we're all saying the Dodgers are going to the postseason. You know that doesn't leave much left. You know what I mean? You
right,
got the winner of the Central and then one other, and it's like you know what I mean? Like I feel like Padres when we talk NL West, Padres, Diamondbacks, and even like the Giants, and then there's the whole Central, which
yeah,
my point here is it's the NL East is definitely taking
yeah,
up a lot of those postseason
yeah.
spots, so it's gonna be a dog fight for
Even
that
the NL as a
that
whole.
7 seed one.
Yeah, even the NL as a whole. Like last year,
Yeah,
The Diamondbacks missed the playoffs, and they had the best offense in baseball. They missed the playoffs.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if
The
one of their
Padres,
guys goes down for a little bit, who knows? Maybe the Brewers or Cubs beat them out by one game, and the next thing you know, the Diamondbacks are out again. So we'll just have to see.
yeah, and yeah, and Padres are they going to take a step back?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like there's
Padres
so many
too. Yeah,
questions, so I'm excited to talk.
yeah, it's
I'm
gonna be fun.
excited to talk the rest of the NL. You know, both the Central and West are going to be electric conversations here on In the Yard. So I hope everybody tunes into those because
Yeah, the NL.
they're
I
going to
think
be
the NL
fun.
as a whole is just really good, especially the East and the West. Especially the East and the
Yeah,
West.
yeah,
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be really tough to get to the World Series. Even the
yeah,
Dodgers, even if the Dodgers do win their division, it's gonna be tough to get through the Braves and then having to go to the Phillies and having to go, you know, um,
yeah,
if assuming those teams are in it also. But we'll just have
yeah.
to see. That'll be
And
fun.
not
Good for
not
the
not
game.
to get yeah, and not to get too far off topic, but it's funny because we look at like the East and the West as the most competitive of the three, right? Probably the most fun, as far as star power is concerned. But like probably the most intriguing of the three is the Central because it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
who knows? Who knows what
Yeah.
that's gonna look like? You know what I
Right.
mean? at the All-Star break, I have legitimately no idea. Like this could be a complete mess.
Right.
Um, so that's going to be a fun conversation because it's going to be all over the place too. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that
Cool.
about wraps it up here. It'll be fun to preview and see how bad our predictions are come September. um, like last year. Last year we made some predictions and then some of them were kind of consistent and some of them were way off. So it'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, who
Cool.
knows? Baseball, anything could happen, right? Cool. All right. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. That's our NL East predictions and preview. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know um, who you think is going to be winning the East. If any of these teams could top the Dodgers. Yeah. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.